We all like to eat out, right? But just how bad is the food our kids are eating when we go to some of the country's most popular restaurants?
You think you're starting your day healthy? Or are you swallowing a salt bomb without even knowing? That seemingly harmless breakfast, sandwiches, coffee, crispy fries, is quietly becoming a daily weapon against your health. What you and your kids eat every morning might not be cooked, just reheated. Not prepared, just poured from a vacuum-sealed bag. In this video, we'll expose 9 of America's most famous restaurant chains, where behind the convenience lies a slew of dirty, stale, and far more dangerous truths than you ever imagined. Watch to the end, because what you choose to eat after 9 a.m. today could change forever. We start with a brand once hailed as America's morning icon, a place where hot coffee and sweet donuts drew millions. But over time, Dunkin' seems to have lost its way, quietly slipping from trusted staple to a morning stop, far less worth craving than it once was. One early morning, you pull into your familiar Dunkin', the scent of roasted coffee hits you, alongside trays of glossy, sugar-coated donuts that look fresh from the oven. The menu boasts fresh every day in bold letters. You think you're about to kick off your day with a wholesome breakfast. But if you linger a moment longer and pay closer attention, you might start to wonder, does fresh here actually mean fresh? The truth, it turns out, feels like a low-budget comedy, enticing on the surface, but behind it lies an industrial system full of hard-to-swallow surprises. Those donuts you assume were just baked? They're not crafted in the cozy kitchen behind the counter. According to food industry reports and former employees, Dunkin's donuts are mass-produced at centralized facilities, frozen, and trucked hundreds of miles to stores nationwide, thawed and touched up before reaching your hands. When you order, employees simply defrost or pop them in a microwave to revive them. Talk about efficiency. And that glossy glaze? A New Jersey customer complained on Yelp, "It tasted like plastic and left an oily film on my lips." Turns out, the glaze might have been applied days earlier, leaving donuts crumbly and far from fresh. A former employee in Connecticut shared I'd open boxes of donuts with frost still clinging to them, like they just came from Antarctica. Instead of a sweet treat, you're chewing an industrial product packed with preservatives, fooling your taste buds with artificial sweetness. When your kid begs for an egg and sausage sandwich for breakfast, do you picture a chef cracking a fresh egg onto a sizzling pan, the aroma filling the kitchen? Sorry to burst the bubble, there's no sizzle, no pan. A former Dunkin' cook with 5 years' experience revealed the eggs are a pre-cooked liquid mix, vacuum-sealed, frozen, and zapped in a microwave for 30 seconds before hitting your plate. Sausage, turkey, even cheese? Same journey, freezer to microwave to you? A viral TikTok showed a harried employee ripping open a bag of frozen eggs during a rush, captioned, "This is Dunkin's fresh secret. You think you're eating a healthy breakfast, but it's a salt bomb." A single sandwich can pack 1,500 milligrams of sodium, nearly the daily limit, leaving you parched and sluggish. And the coffee, Dunkin's soul? Some locations brew it at dawn and let it sit in thermal carafes, turning its bold flavor bitter and burnt. A Florida customer posted on X, "My latte tasted like dishwater." Worst, Dunkin's website reveals a large caramel iced latte contains 55 g of sugar, more than a can of soda. You think you're fueling up, but you're sipping a disguised milkshake that spikes your blood sugar and crashes your energy. Hygiene? That's another dark joke. Newark Health Department reports flagged 2 Dunkin' locations for food storage violations, with grimy coffee machines and moldy ice bins. A former Ohio employee shared on Glassdoor, "We were so slammed cleaning was often half-hearted. Management might not intend this, but in a system racing against time and costs, cleanliness sometimes falls off the priority list." The consequences? Quietly alarming, a donut with a side of bacteria or coffee poured from an unclean spout could turn your breakfast into a health gamble. Dunkin' was once a beacon of convenience, but when you learn your donuts have traveled farther than you, your coffee's as bitter as a lie, and your sandwich is saltier than seawater, you wonder, this is how to start the day? Now you'll see why a breakfast detour here might not be worth it. Beneath the sweet veneer of a Dairy Queen morning lies something far less appetizing. You might stop by for a cone, But on rushed mornings, many opt for breakfast here. A burrito fragrant with grilled meat, golden hash browns, and a steaming coffee. Sounds convenient, right? But digging into the prep process behind these dishes, that convenience quickly gives way to a more troubling question. Is what I'm eating actually safe? At some Dairy Queen locations in the Midwest, breakfast prep is streamlined to the point of automation. Eggs aren't cracked from shells, but poured from industrial plastic jugs, then heated in metal trays. Pancakes arrive pre-cut, frozen, and are microwaved, sometimes still cold in the center. A morning shift worker in Nebraska shared pancakes come in at the start of the week, stacked in the freezer. On busy days, we don't have time to thaw them properly, just zap and serve. That's why you might bite into a pancake that's hot on the outside, but soggy and tasteless within. The issues go beyond ingredients. A local health department report in Oklahoma flagged one Dairy Queen for using bacon left out overnight without proper refrigeration. The result? A group of customers ended up at the doctor with stomach pain and diarrhea, not severe, but enough to swear off returning. Frying oil, seemingly a simple detail, is another red flag. Some locations use the same vat to fry everything from morning hash browns to evening fish. An anonymous manager admitted, oil gets changed every 3 days. If it's not too black, it stays. That's the rule. Reused oil doesn't just lose flavor, it can form toxic compounds you'd never want in your body, especially to start your day. Then there's the nutritional shock. A compact sausage egg cheese sandwich here packs nearly 800 calories, equivalent to a full dinner. Worse, you'll likely be hungry again in under 2 hours, as most of those calories come from fat and refined carbs, with no vegetables or fiber to aid digestion. Dairy Queen may still be a go-to spot, but if breakfast sets the tone for your day, you deserve to know what you're really eating. Because a convenient burrito is never worth risking your health, especially when it's the first meal you share with your kids. At some airports or select locations, you might spot a Popeye sign glowing early in the morning. Hungry and rushed, you're tempted by their Southern-style breakfast: buttery biscuits, hot fried chicken, grits, and mashed potatoes. It sounds enticing, but as you sit down with your tray, you might want to ask, was this really made for breakfast? Or is it last night's leftovers, hastily reheated? The issue is, Popeyes was never built for true breakfast service. Their model thrives on speed, deep frying, and bare bones processes. That works for lunch or dinner, but in the morning, when your body craves something light and clean, what happens behind Popeye's counter tells a different story. A former manager at a Texas location admitted, if we had chicken left from the night shift, we didn't toss it. Slap on some sauce, stuff it in a biscuit, it looks fresh enough. So, morning customers are often eating yesterday's dinner, disguised with warm sauce and a new paper box. Popeye's breakfast items aren't just lacking freshness, they're short on quality. Biscuits, a chain staple, aren't made on-site but pulled from frozen bags and baked in ovens, shared with fried items. Grits are mixed from dry powder, needing only boiling water to serve. Mashed potatoes, seemingly wholesome, are instant flakes whipped with hot water and industrial butter. Everything's engineered for fast, cheap, and easy, but the cost is bland flavor and nutrient-poor ingredients. Bigger concerns arise with hygiene. Many Popeyes kitchens lack clear separation for raw and cooked foods, especially in the morning when prep isn't thorough. Raw chicken, eggs, and breakfast items are handled next to pre-fried chicken. Staff often aren't trained to zone prep areas, and during rushes, gloves go unchanged, with tools shared between raw chicken and fries. A health inspection at a Georgia location noted no distinct cleaning process for breakfast items, raising risks of cross-contamination. Since Popeyes operates on a franchise model, hygiene standards aren't uniform. One store might be fine, but step into the wrong one, and safety protocols could be non-existent. Customers think they're saving time with a quick Popeyes breakfast, but the real trade-off is steep freshness for frozen, flavor for salt and sugar Food safety for speed? That sandwich might look legit, but inside, it's more like an experiment in powder, oil, and additives. And this is just the start. In the next parts, you'll see other chains that shock even more, not just lacking quality but posing downright scary health risks. Keep watching if you really want to know what you're eating each morning. When you step into a Cracker Barrel in the morning, everything feels staged to stir warm memories, creaky wooden rocking chairs like grandma's, vintage knickknacks lining the walls, the faint aroma of coffee mingling with old-school country tunes from a retro radio. But behind this nostalgic curtain, if you take a closer look at your breakfast tray, you'll realize this isn't the home-cooked meal you imagined. Your plate, piled high with mashed potatoes, fluffy pancakes, golden brown sausage, and crispy fried steak, is designed to look like farm-to-table comfort food. In reality, most of it has taken an industrial journey to reach you. The mashed potatoes aren't whipped in the kitchen, but poured from frozen bags and reheated in industrial ovens. Eggs come from large plastic jugs, not cracked fresh, but dispensed from pre-mixed pasteurized liquid. Pancakes are made from industrial batter laced with preservatives for shelf life, not the fresh mix they claim. Even the meats aren't spared. Bacon is pre-cooked and kept under heat lamps for hours, while sausages are thawed overnight and reheated in minutes. The signature Southern fried steak? It's a frozen, pre-breaded patty from a factory, vacuum-sealed and trucked in on refrigerated rigs before hitting the fryer. It's all a streamlined assembly line, optimized for speed, not cooked with love. More concerning is the salt content. The famous Country Boy breakfast can pack over 2,500 milligrams of sodium, exceeding the daily recommended limit. Add syrup to your pancakes, a dollop of creamy gravy to your eggs, or an extra sausage, and you're swallowing a sodium bomb without realizing it. The result? A false sense of fullness, sluggishness, dizziness, and constant thirst, far from the wholesome family-fed image. A former employee at a Tennessee location revealed that during busy mornings, standards slip to keep up, eggs get overcooked, sausages are reheated multiple times, and yesterday's gravy is diluted and reused instead of made fresh. Griddles aren't always scraped clean of debris and burnt oil, adding an invisible layer of dirty seasoning to each new dish. High turnover means new staff, some with less than a week's experience, handle hectic weekend breakfast shifts, leading to inconsistent, careless food. Cracker Barrel sells a dream of rural comfort, but what they serve is a triumph of clever marketing. Behind the warm wood and friendly smiles lie industrial processes, frozen ingredients, aging equipment, and a system too rushed to pour hard into the food. If you thought you were recapturing childhood flavors here, it's time to take a second look, because nostalgia doesn't always taste like truth. Amid countless glowing signs in the night, Waffle House stands as a familiar beacon, a legend not just for its crispy waffles or steaming hash browns, but for its chaotic, round-the-clock energy. Yet that very 24/7's hustle, the trait that made the chain iconic, is quietly unraveling the promises they built on. When a restaurant never closes, it also never truly cleans. Grease and food scraps cake along the edges of the griddle, equipment gets a cursory swipe between shifts, fridges are so overstuffed the doors barely shut, and the fryer station, needing frequent checks, is often overlooked during rushes. Former employees have sounded the alarm. They've shared photos of cooking stations buried in trash, sauce crusted on fryer rims, and expired ingredients still used if they looked okay. Okay enough. One said, "You see the cook working right in front of you, but don't assume it's safe." The griddle might not have been cleaned in 6 hours, and the spatula flipping your burger could have just scrambled raw eggs. Your freshly cooked breakfast might come from ingredients left at room temperature for hours or reheated in murky 3-day-old frying oil. The risks don't just stem from ingredients, they're baked into the operation. In a place with no off switch, staff are pushed to their limits. They grind through 8-mitcher or even 12-hour shifts in sweltering heat, under pressure from customers, sometimes drunk or rude, and equally frayed coworkers. There's no time to change gloves. Not enough hands to separate raw and cooked foods. The same spatula used for raw meat flips your finished meal, not out of malice, but because no one has the energy to follow protocol. The fallout? Diners have found hair in their eggs. One described their coffee tasting like spoiled milk. Another swore their waffle reeked of bleach, as if the waffle iron wasn't fully rinsed after a rushed cleaning. When a worker was caught napping at the counter, as reported at a Georgia location, the line between kitchen and break room vanished. Hygiene stopped being a priority. Service ceased to be a mission. All that's left is a relentless churn that burns out people and trust alike. Waffle House was once a symbol of boundless convenience. But today, the only thing truly boundless might be its willingness to sacrifice hygiene, safety, and quality just to keep the doors open. In a place where everything's always ready to blow up, the only thing you should bring inside is a healthy dose of caution. No fast food breakfast conversation is complete without the king of the game. McDonald's. You've probably clutched an Egg McMuffin in traffic, scarfed down fries while rushing to work, or grabbed a coffee and breakfast burrito before fully waking up. It all happens so smoothly you don't stop to wonder, how do they make it this fast? The answer, unfortunately, lies in what's rarely discussed: a process of cutting corners, freezing, and assembling like a lab experiment. Yes, the egg in your Egg McMuffin might be real, but that's only at select locations, still cracking shells and frying on griddles. In most cases, eggs come pre-beaten in plastic bags, chilled for easy portioning. The eggs in your burrito or bacon sandwich, pre-cooked at processing hubs, frozen, and shipped like cargo. When you order, they're zapped in a microwave. Not cooked, just activated. The fries, they look crispy, but picture them sitting under heat lamps for hours, soaking up oil and moisture until they're as limp as a wet napkin. During slow hours, no one swaps them out. Sometimes the lamps fail, and customers don't realize bacteria have already clocked in. And don't forget, those fries aren't fresh potatoes, but industrially processed, salted, frozen, and bagged, prioritizing convenience over flavor. Bacon, sausage, all pre-cooked, pumped with sodium to last longer than your relationships, as one employee quipped online. Even the seemingly healthy oatmeal comes pre-mixed with cream, sugar, and syrup-soaked fruit toppings, basically a sweet cup masquerading as nutrition. As someone put it, one scoop of McDonald's oatmeal equals a Hershey's bar, just without the wrapper. And don't overlook the equipment. McDonald's kitchens are built to run non-stop, not to pause for deep cleaning. Griddles churn from dawn to dusk. Frying oil might be reused from breakfast to lunch, and food trays stay open all shift, letting air and bacteria sneak in. When lines snake and order buzzers blare, hygiene becomes a luxury, and you eating in your car, barely glancing at the bun or melted cheese, are the one placing blind faith. A big bet on a brand famous for consistency, not actual quality. So now we've got three more names: Cracker Barrel, Waffle House, and McDonald's. Not just defining the American breakfast, but exposing the dark underbelly of the food industry, where eggs don't need cracking, buns don't need baking, and flavor is engineered like an assembly line. One spot evokes grandma's living room, but serves liquid eggs and over 2,500 milligrams of sodium in a single country boy plate. Another stays open 24/7 like an immortal icon, yet lets frying oil fester until it turns black. And McDonald's, the global empire you think is a safe bet, feeds you eggs from plastic bags, refrozen sausage, and burritos zapped in a microwave. The common thread? The illusion of convenience. A breakfast that takes 3 minutes to serve but strips away the soul of freshness and sometimes your health. Worse, the list isn't done. Behind those drive-through counters you trust each morning, more names lurk, forcing us to ask, where does homemade really come from? And more crucially, will you dare to take a closer look at the bun you're eating tomorrow morning? When you swing by Sonic Drive-In to kick off your morning, you're likely picturing a quick, budget-friendly breakfast with a dash of fun. Employees gliding on roller skates, vibrant menu boards, and plates of golden tater tots smothered in melty cheese and sizzling bacon. It all seems to promise an upbeat meal. But behind Sonic's flashy exterior lies a far less appetizing reality, much like their outdated coffee machines: inconsistent, sloppily prepared, and just barely fooling your taste buds. Let's start with the eggs, the supposed heart of any breakfast. Unless you luck out with a freshly fried batch, most Sonic locations use pre-cooked egg patties, mass-produced in distant factories, frozen through long hauls, and hastily warmed on a griddle or microwaved. These eggs have an odd texture, half rubbery, half soggy sponge. Their flavor is bland, more reminiscent of a forgotten pantry snack than the gentle aroma of fresh eggs. Next up, the bread, the part you hope elevates the meal. Those golden toasted buns or inviting sandwich rolls. Don't be fooled by appearances. They're not from any local bakery. Sonic's bread arrives frozen, thawed carelessly at the store, leaving a crumbly, lifeless texture. The toast, expected to be crisp, often turns dry and stale after lingering under heat lamps. One customer vented on social media, describing Sonic's toast as cardboard soaked in water and reheated, hardly a glowing review. And the meats, bacon, sausage, or ham are pre-cooked, long frozen, and loaded with salt. A sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich can pack up to 1,800 milligrams of sodium, not a breakfast, but a heavy salt dose wrapped in greasy shine. Your stomach might protest before you even clock the issue. The kitchen setup at Sonic doesn't help. Prep areas are cramped, just a few square feet juggling raw ingredients, cooked food, and cleaning chemicals. During rushes, chaos reigns, making cross-contamination a real risk. In the frenzy, staff might skip gloves or neglect to wipe surfaces, turning your breakfast into a gamble, especially if you're sensitive to certain ingredients. The fryer, home to those signature tater tots, is another red flag. Tots, onion rings, and meat patties all cook in the same oil vat. Oil should be changed regularly, but many employees admit it's reused too long to save time. The result? Your crispy tots aren't just oily, they carry a muddled flavor of everything else, steeped in degraded oil. Order a breakfast burrito and brace for an unsettling adventure. Inside that foil lies a bizarre mix: industrial eggs, greasy meat, rubbery clumped cheese, and disintegrating frozen tots. Add the special sauce, Sonic's term for what might just be artificial goop, and you've got a dish primed to wreak havoc on your digestion. Customers leave, often torn between disappointment and confusion, wondering if they just ate breakfast or accidentally swallowed a failed culinary experiment wrapped in aluminum. When you roll up to Carl's Jr. for breakfast, you're likely expecting a quick, affordable meal with a spark of morning energy. Flashy billboards flaunt oversized sandwiches, burritos that look like a culinary challenge, and ambitious steak and egg combos, all designed to make you forget your daily grind. But behind that glossy facade lies a grim reality. Much like their outdated coffee machines, sputtering, sloppy, and just barely fooling you for a moment. Everything in a Carl's Jr. breakfast hinges on a supply chain from freezer to fryer, with no room for freshness. Biscuits arrive frozen, tater tots are pre-formed and packed with preservatives, and eggs swing between liquid mix from cartons or lifeless industrial patties. Bacon, hyped as crispy, is often limp, pulled from pre-cooked bulk bags and half-heartedly microwaved before being slapped into a bun. The steak in your breakfast burrito? Pure deception. No prime cut here, just a mix of ground meat and soy, shaped into strips or patties, frozen for months. When reheated, you get a piece that's chewy at the edges, raw in the middle, with a texture like biting into damp cardboard. The flavor is drowned in salt, artificial smoke, and an aftertaste that leaves you questioning what you just ate. The creamy sauces, billed as the dish's soul, are a trap. These preservative-laden bottles can sit out for weeks without spoiling, but are often used far too long, sometimes refilled without label changes, leaving behind unique flavors no one asked for. One former employee shared that squirt bottles were topped off without cleaning, resulting in some less than creative culinary surprises. When your breakfast sandwich tastes off, it's not innovation, it's negligence. Hygiene at Carl's Jr. is a glaring issue. Health inspection reports from multiple locations reveal serious violations: food stored at unsafe temperatures, staff skipping hand washing, and evidence of pests in storage areas. Cockroaches and mice don't just wander into kitchens for the ambiance, they show up when food safety standards collapse and stay when no one bothers to fix it. Worse, morning customers are often too rushed to notice. They zip through the drive-thru, grab their bag, take a few bites in traffic, and move on without flagging issues. Mistakes go unreported, and the cycle of carelessness persists. When you eat a subpar breakfast at Carl's Jr., you're not just swallowing low-quality food, you're unwittingly fueling a loop of failure, Each bite is a warning. Convenience sometimes comes at a cost steeper than money, leaving you wondering if a decent breakfast is really that hard to find. When Wendy's jumped into the breakfast battle as a proud newcomer, they brought flashy ad campaigns, boasting superior flavor and sharp social media jabs at competitors. But behind the glitzy hype lies a hastily assembled menu, riddled with shortcuts, and a brand far outpacing its actual quality. Take their signature breakfast sandwich. Pitched as the menu's soul, the eggs come from industrial frozen packs, reheated into a bizarre spongy blob that resembles cake frosting more than rich, fresh eggs. The buns, described as fresh baked, are just frozen dough half-thawed, sometimes zapped in a microwave before a quick toast. The result? A flimsy shell with a rubbery core, leaving you wondering if you're chewing food or a forgotten toy from storage. Wendy's premium seasoned potatoes sound gourmet, but they're just frozen fries dusted with salty seasoning. Left exposed in uncovered warming trays, they turn dry and lose their crunch before landing in your bag. Fried in the same oil as everything else, nuggets to onion rings, they don't taste of fine spices but of muddled, greasy residue carrying the ghost of the entire menu. The bacon is equally disappointing, pre-cooked, packed with fillers, and so salty that a single breakfast sandwich can hit over 800 calories and nearly 1,700 milligrams of sodium, a nutritional landmine before you add the creamy sauce. That sauce, slathered generously, isn't real cheese but a processed mix of emulsifiers and thickeners, stable enough to survive, but hiding secrets your stomach will protest processing. Wendy's kitchens only worsen the mess. Employees reveal that the breakfast menu rolled out in chaos, with minimal training and poor organization. As a new offering, not every location has staff ready for morning shifts. Night crews, unfamiliar with the routine, fumble with prep, while morning staff scramble to fire up griddles and fryers. In cramped kitchens, cross-contamination is a constant risk, especially when shared surfaces go unwiped and oversight is nearly non-existent. Even the coffee, touted as fresh daily, is a letdown. Pre-brewed in large batches and left in thermal carafes, it sits for hours, turning bitter, burnt, and gritty by off-peak orders. Wendy's dreamed of challenging breakfast giants, but instead of innovation, they've recycled the same old formula: industrial ingredients, frozen shortcuts, and dishes heavy as a salt bomb disguised in glossy ads. Their menu might dazzle on the board, but in your hands, it leaves a leaden feeling, like a rock in your stomach, making you wonder if a decent breakfast is really so hard to find. Investigating 9 fast food chains, from their dazzling signs to their tantalizingly advertised breakfasts, a clear message emerges: what you get from these chains isn't real food, but industrial fillers, frozen goods, and salt bombs cloaked in glossy branding. Consumers, hoping to kickstart their day with energy, often fall for the illusion that a sandwich or burrito from these chains is a smart choice. In reality, they're paying for speed and name recognition, not quality or nutrition. Microwaved egg patties, biscuits trucked from distant warehouses, or filler-packed sausages lack authentic flavor and quietly harm your health. This upends the notion that fast food is a convenient way to start the day. Instead, it's often a trap that costs both your wallet and your well-being. Smart consumers don't just skip breakfast, they learn to say no to bad choices. You deserve better. A breakfast should fuel your body, not weigh you down or leave you regretful. Bland frozen eggs or cardboard-like buns aren't worth sacrificing your health each morning. Knowing what's really in your food empowers smarter choices, prioritizing fresh, nourishing options over disguised convenience. Every meal is a chance to care for yourself, and understanding the truth about fast food chains helps you dodge traps wrapped in foil or glossy paper bags. This journey aims to make you think twice before hitting the drive-thru tomorrow morning. If these revelations dampen your craving for a salty croissant or burnt coffee, this story has done its job. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more shocking truths about other restaurants in the next part, where similar secrets will be exposed. The truth is never on the menu, and recognizing that is the first step to reclaiming control over what you put in your body. A real breakfast isn't just about filling your stomach, it's about energizing your day with confidence and health, not regret for falling for flashy ads.